right, we have made it. We're here in Corpus Christi outside of the Lexington where we are about to be locked down for the evening. It is 6 p.m. now and we're going to be in there quite late, possibly up until 3 a.m. The Lexington, known for lots of activity. Joining me will be Matt, which is interesting because this is an active duty commanding officer boarding a ship that dates back to World War II, and this might be the only time where you've had an active commanding officer interacting possibly with sailor ghosts. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty comfortable. Like it's going home for me. I've spent many nights on board carriers, and this will be just one more to remember, I think.
So we have some equipment with us. We have a EMF detector, which Matt will be in charge of. I have a digital recorder. We have other devices as well. And our tour guide is Bill. I believe that's him in the yellow shirt. So we're going to go talk to him, board the ship, and take you inside for what will hopefully be a very interesting paranormal adventure with a lot of activity.
I'm a tour guide and the lead investigator for Blue Ghost Paranormal. It's a group on here where we study the hauntings that actually do occur aboard this ship. Anyway, we're off to do that now, and you may be able to catch some of the stuff as we go through.
And have you personally seen a lot here?
Yes, as a matter of fact, not every place, but the majority of places I take you are places that I've personally experienced things. Voices, touching, footsteps, knockings, you name it.
Have you seen these guys in their uniforms running around like I've heard?
Some people have, but mostly what I have as far as sightings are shadow people. Now, you're going to find some people that say shadow people are bad things. We've never ever had a bad experience aboard here, and we have a ton of shadow people. I have seen one full apparition, full-bodied apparition. But at the time I saw him, he was right behind me, and all I saw was basically from the shoulders up. But he had a light blue shirt, which reminded me of the old dungarees.
Right.
And later on, a reflection in a piece of plexiglass in that area revealed a person with a light-colored blue shirt. So we've had these positioned about the ship, and what their purpose is if you have somebody on station that gets hurt and comes down with a little boo-boo, you can kiss it, make it better, and send them back. But sometimes you can fix them and make them better, but he can't go back to station because of a broken arm, broken leg, or something like that. But this is also where they would bring in the dying and make the evaluation. Do I want to spend time on this guy or go to the next guy that's hurt, but he has a chance of making it? Anyway, it's a terrible decision. But what they would do is, if we had a guy that's in better shape than this dude, they would take him and put him, these were officer staterooms over there, put him in the stateroom or in the passageway, and then whatever walking wounded we had out there would stay with that person until he passed away, so he didn't have to die alone. But anyway,
This looks original, doesn't it?
it looks like original from ones I've seen in my Navy past.
Wow.
But this is the only battle dressing station we have left open.
And what kind of stuff happens in here?
Well, we have gunshot wounds, shrapnel wounds.
For paranormal, like what experiences do you see in here, or what do people report?
Sometimes voices,
Okay.
Indecipherable voices. We've never been able to crack them yet, but it's probably business type. I mean, you don't come in here all shot up and socialize. But anyway, also we've had EVPs with groans. The standard that you would have is somebody severely injured.
Right.
This was put up a couple of years ago, and I think this is part of the problem. But again, remember I told you the starboard side was the access to 2 or 4, the forecastle. Now, if you think about it, picture somebody coming up, making that corner, their eyesight is going to catch what's over here.
Yeah.
I mean, just naturally, come up to that ladder. Anyway, when the scary chief would show up, he would be about where this guy's thigh is right here. He'd be right about here. and that light is normally on. We just had it secured for the night. But people, by their story, would round that corner and see this chief petty officer over here underneath the light with a worst scowl that they've ever seen, and they would recoil because it was scary to them. But anyway, I don't think he's been seen for a couple of years. A, because that's now the exit, so when people leave, they have their back turned to us. And this over here blocks the view.
Yeah.
But he's a residual. I tell people he won't attack you. He can't attack you because he's not even there. That's like a movie.
Yeah.
Well, based on how he's dressed, what years?
He was in a CPO uniform.
What years do you think he was on this ship?
Well, it was World War II.
Okay.
The reason being is because we have lots of stories about people that were killed on the ship. We can't verify some of them because once the ship decommissions it, they send all their paperwork up to DC for storage.
Right.
But we've had enough. We get visitors out here all the time that are former crew members, and we talk to them, and they have a story about World War II when the ship had been in combat for 4 days, so everybody's kind of goofy. But they had propeller-driven aircraft all shoving towards the front, getting ready for takeoff on another mission. On one of those, a plane came up, and they had a chief standing there that was there. You know, during those times, they used chiefs for observers and safety. And why he did this, I don't know, other than felt he had to do it now and there was nobody else to do it. Whatever the case was, I don't know. But he ducked underneath the aircraft and fixed whatever needed fixed. But he pulled the cardinal sin of not looking when he started coming back, and he backed into a propeller. When in war, you just don't call time out. Yeah. And so the plane went on up there. As soon as that area cleared, I mean, there was a fire party on the scene right there with charged fire hoses, and they blew the remains of the chief over the side.
Jeez.
They think that might be him or somebody related to the same type of story. We cannot say for certain.
So this is junior officers' quarters.
Yep.
Okay, and tell us about this spot.
Well, again, this is where junior officers came in because they were too junior. Yeah, I mean, they had the diploma in one hand and the commission in the other, and they didn't have enough seniority to get a stateroom. And so they would basically live up here until they gained some seniority.
Okay.
Now, I don't know of any case where somebody died up here, but I do know that several of these people were pilots that went off on mission sometime and didn't return. So they may have returned to here. One story I have that I experienced was we took a shortcut. We bypassed the CV2. The CV2 is the previous Lexington, the ship that we're named after. The ship was supposed to be named Cabot, but the people that had built the CV2 Lexington were in the process of building this ship, and so they petitioned Secretary Knox to allow the name Lexington, and they did. Now, one time I was working up here, and I was with Daddy in CV2 room, and meanwhile, Mommy and oldest son, 13, 14 years old, came up, and his set of twin boys about 2 years younger than him, but he stopped right there at the threshold, and I didn't see that, but I was talking to Dad, and I could hear Mommy talk, and she said, go on in, and she said, no, there's a scary man in there. Well, of course, that got my attention, so I came on up, and I stood behind him at that bulkhead, and I said, where's the scary man? And he pointed in here and said, like, he's in there, you know, don't you see him? And but anyway, he just had that tone of voice. Yeah. I said, I don't see anything, but I'll tell you what, I'll walk with you through here, and you'll be okay. But he said, no, he didn't. And the kid was crying, he was shivering, I mean, he was upset.
Mm-hmm.
So I told Mom, I said, just go ahead and take him, and I'm gonna go and check the space out, and it was empty. Now, you gotta wonder if the scary chief down below didn't appear to him up here, but through a child's eyes. I mean, we're adults. We have built so many filters over our life that we cut a lot out that's actually there. We just don't see it anymore. Yeah. But I'd be standing here talking and this would move. It hadn't moved for like 6 or 7 months, a long time, until last night. And I was talking about it and I was saying, I wish that bitch would move, when the person I was with said, it's moving. And it was moving back and forth, and then sometimes it would stop and then start moving in and out.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's not the only story about that. I was working on the forecastle, and like I said, this was the entrance, and up top of that ladder that we went up, I heard a crash, clatter, bang, boom, all that stuff, a lot of noise. They came running out, just thinking maybe somebody fell down the ladder. But there's a family of 4 up there, and 2 on each side looking down and really sucking a lot of oxygen. They were down. So I asked what happened, and they were so out of breath that they couldn't even answer. So I came running down the ladder, checked, no bodies, nobody fell down the ladder, no fights, no armed incursions, no nothing. So I went back up and I asked, by that time Daddy had his air coming back, so I asked him what happened. And he said that Mommy had gone forward, his 2 kids went first, but then Mommy went up there, and he was just finished reading up this and that and taking another look, then he was going to go up. But as he got to that last combing over there, he said his wife was still there just out of sight to our left, and he was stepping over that combing, and as such, he turned his head just a little bit and saw movement. He looked back here and he said he saw an officer in aviator greens stepping out, looked at him, and then started down that way. And he said something to his wife, said, "No, you just grunted." But it caused her to look back, just lean back, and she could see the back of this guy moving on, and she wondered where the hell did he come from, because they hadn't passed anybody. But anyway, it came on down, and Daddy looked at this, and then he saw it was still locked from the outside. And by his own admissions, he lost every ounce of courage he ever had. And he started running. Well, Mommy started running. The kids saw stampeding parents, so they started running. And that's what happened, is all 4 going up the ladder at the same time, which caused all that, you know. But I came on down here and I checked everything, and I got a lot of valuables, so this is a higher security. I mean, that's really hardened steel. Mm-hmm. And, but it was still padlocked. It was padlocked when he saw it, padlocked when he...
Wow.
You know. He had 5 2-person cells, and every ship that I was aboard, when we had bread and water and I was in charge of the brig, seldom put anybody in there because, again, that was the captain's last response. But even though we could handle 10 prisoners, we might do that. And sometimes there's a major brawl between the Marines and sailors or something along that line. But that was non-judicial. Listen to this. That wasn't hard. But sometimes I pre-walk on the hard hat tours to make sure that everything is safe, because we go way, way off route. But there's sometimes I'll be walking up there and I'll hear that. So I'll come on down here, knowing nobody's supposed to be here, and nobody would be here, but you would hear that sound.
Okay, we just had something on the EMF meter. What did you see?
Well, just jumped up to 22, went to a yellow light there on the top, and
Okay.
now back to zeros.
We've had that happen a few times now, which is strange. And what area of the ship are we in right now?
We're right above, we're on the 3rd deck, right above the ladder to forward auxiliary.
Okay.
You can tell frame, oh no, sorry, we're on the 4th deck, frame 85. We were talking about taps when they filmed aboard here.
Yeah.
We saw their pre-production film, and a lot of that was cut out. Now, some of what was cut out was the young lady that was with them was standing right here, and because you could recognize that part on the. But anyway, she started complaining about nausea. But when she stopped talking, she was the only female here. All of a sudden, you heard a female voice underneath that, and that startled me because we didn't have, we didn't have any reports of females dying here. But talking to the old timers that came aboard, they said, yeah, they heard that a young electrician female that died back here shocked herself. This was electrical shock. And she was fixing a piece of electric-driven equipment and wound up shocking herself to death. But we didn't know that until we started talking to them. And that would make sense where you'd hear a female voice. Now this is an electric motor rewind shop. And I have another spirit box on my phone that I don't use because I don't trust all that much, so I just basically ignored it. Also have a story back here that I never told because I could never confirm it. What that story is, that involves that vat right there. Electric rewind, once he got everything stripped down, they would put it in here. This is an acid bath.
Okay.
And that was the varnish bath, all right? Supposedly, a young female sailor went missing, and they said it was unlike her because she was squared away, the whole thing, and it was not like her. But anyway, they came on back here because they had a motor to dip that day, and you could see where especially the big ones, they could roll them on out, in and out. Sure. But anyway, in here, this thing, and this always scares me lifting this. If there's a pair of legs down there, I'm out of here. But you can see where the level of varnish was.
Yeah.
But also, if somebody's head slipped down their head first, there'd be no way to grab enough purchase to be able to right yourself. Yeah. Simple fact also, if you're going in there and you gasp or something like that, you're sucking in varnish, so you're dead anyway. Oh, yeah. But the way that they would do it is they would take this, which is a heavy lid, and lay it back and then do that. So, you didn't have to stand here and hold it open. Mm-hmm. Now the question is how did she wind up in there? Mm-hmm. I don't know because I couldn't find any records in there, but I'd heard the story. But I was walking through here, and a lady behind me had a spirit box, and she said, "Wait a minute." She showed this thing to me and said, "Murdered," right there. So I thought, I might have to start paying more attention to that story. But it's traditional in the Navy when you go into a mess that you take your hat off, you do this, you do that. What happens is visitors will come here and somebody will be wearing a hat and somebody will yell at him, "Take off that damn hat." This is the same reason I wear my hat, because I want to see who this guy is. But anyway, they step over there, you have to take off that damn hat. Usually the guy whips his hat off, but then they look at each other and say, like, who are we to be picked on? And the guy doing the yelling is over the years, he's always described almost exactly within an inch or two. But they say he's about 5.5 feet tall. He's got short military style hair, white t-shirt, which is customary because this ship wasn't air conditioned for many years, and wearing khaki trousers, so he's either officer or chief. But what really made incensed this one wife was that he was wearing a hat and he was yelling at them to take their damn hat off. And to me, that simply tells me the guy was a chief cook. Chief because he's wearing trousers, khaki trousers, and he was wearing a hat, and the cooks had to wear hats.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, we are in the former enlisted crew mess. It's 8:30 p.m. and something just happened over here.
Well, it's now down 4 degrees, and while we were standing here, EM4 went down from 84 to 80. Real short time frame, and then went up to about a 7 or 8 on the EMF, which is higher than we've seen in most spots so far. Usually it's zeros.
Right.
There's no phone near it or anything, so hard to say what that was.
And then I was standing right over here and felt tingling on my forehead for about a minute straight, right in the center of my forehead. It's really weird. And it's like anytime this thing goes off, it's just in quick waves. It's like they come in and out, and they're gone.
We're going to be coming up that ladder. Now, I've brought people up there, and it mostly happens to females, but it happened a couple times to a guy, and I've actually got a picture of this, where they get on up there and they go into a swoon. Now, sometimes I think maybe it's the exertion of coming up that ladder because it's pretty steep, but that didn't account for two of the people from San Antonio. She was a very buff female, but she was a physical fitness freak, as was her boyfriend, who was also a treasury agent, so they were both in great shape. But she went into a swoon, and I've got a black stanchion over there. At the time I was over here, and I looked back and saw her, I ran over because I thought she was just going to fall over. Meanwhile, there was an elderly lady, wasn't in that bad a shape, but she was hanging on top of that case right there to keep from falling. Anyway, later she took a picture that I'll show you when we get over there.
So what were you going to say about my forehead thing?
Well, you're over there, you're behind that, and that's close to over here.
Got it.
Where they got that sensation. So they're in that area.
And describe the sensation again?
Swooning, getting weak, losing energy.
Okay.
But as soon as we get them 3 feet away from there, they're okay.
Interesting.
But anyway, I hear all sorts of fantastical things, and the girls come aboard here and they're forever looking for Charlie because they think he's a hunk. He's about 5'6", by the way, which is average height for the average man in World War II. He has close-cut blonde hair, cut military style. They said he's athletic, and he's got the bluest eyes you've ever seen. They always describe the eyes. However, I have one other thing that you need to look for, but before I believe it's Charlie. And I got that from a lieutenant that came down here. I gave a VIP to a Mustang lieutenant, who was also the chief engineer the night that the ship was attacked. He was very emotional, as I think anyone would be. But he was also described this young sailor that he was always talking to, because back then enlisted just didn't come up and talk to officers. The officer had to initiate the conversation unless you had permission to. But anyway, this officer, the lieutenant, would always go down and talk to him because he said this kid was a young guy, and he was talked about leaving the Navy, but the lieutenant said, I wanted him to stay because he was the most natural engineer he'd ever met in his life. He said this kid was just fantastic at engineering, but he would always talk to him that way. But the guy that I'm talking about was lost. The lieutenant couldn't remember his name, but he vaguely described Charlie. And Charlie's one of the 2 people that were lost off the Fantail. It was super hot down here when this plant's running. You got a lot of steam and everything going. And South Pacific, it gets even hotter because the air being pumped in is hot tropical air. But because of safe stay times and quiet times, not under attack or anything, they could send 1 or 2 people at a time up to the Fantail to cool off. Then they stay about 10 minutes, come on down, but the chief would recycle them to make sure that everybody had time to get up and get cool, according to the safe stay times.
And where is this guy seen around here? Like, where does he stand and
All
give
over.
these tours?
Now, let me tell you another story. We talk a lot to former crew members, and I was talking to this young, no longer young, but this small woman that was a fireman back then, and she actually served in here. She's one of the first female crew. And she said Charlie was a regular part of life to them. I've served aboard several ships, and we've had our ghost on there, but that was never a terrifying experience to us. Okay, a curious experience to us, but never terrifying, because all these guys are, in my estimation, are shipmates on a different plane, but they're nothing to be afraid of and everything. But they said Charlie would appear for short periods because you can only use up so much energy at one time. But she said she was really bad off one day because she was sent below by the chief that there's a pump not working. And as chiefs usually do, it's like go down and repair that thing and don't leave the ship until it's fixed. But she was down there, she tore it apart, cleaned it up, went to put it back together, nothing. She tried this several times, nothing. And about the time she was really getting upset about the whole thing, she said Charlie showed up. Now, Charlie couldn't fix anything. He couldn't pick up any tools, he couldn't do anything, but he was an engineer. Anyway, he told her, said, she already had it part way back together. He said, look, everything looks good so far. Just keep putting it back together. And so she's putting it back together, and then she starts getting emotional again because she's about done. And it's, he still hasn't said anything. But anyway, she goes to put the gasket on it, and she says, wait a minute, you got the gasket upside down. So she turned it upside down, bolted down the cover, and it worked.
And then what? He disappeared?
Yeah, spirits don't stay forever.
Right.
They have to get enough fuel.
But he stood there and monitored for a while?
He said he was looking over her shoulder while she was doing
Wow.
this. Well, these some of these catwalks down there are very narrow, so you probably didn't stand. But anyway, he said he was standing behind her looking over while she was doing this. I've been up and down a million iron ladders. That's somebody walking up or down that ladder. I got the impression he was walking down the ladder.
All right, all 3 of us just heard footsteps going down a ladder.
He just picked up movement in that room back there.
Just now?
Yeah.
What did you see?
I just saw something move right to left.
What did it look like? Shadow?
Yeah, just like a blur. It's a blur that moved across.
Yeah, we all heard, sounded like 3 steps, and now I'm getting goosebumps on my body. It's weird. This is where we heard it, I think. This stairwell. Would you agree?
I agree. That was my impression.
Seemed like it.
Okay, we are in the sick bay.
The ship had an ultra proud record, combat record for World War II. Not only did she go through a lot of battles, but she's one ship that never, ever failed to complete a mission before coming in for repairs, no matter how bad she was hurt. But anyway, 1947, war's over, got a lot of ships, got a lot of sailors, and the Navy can't afford them all. So they selected the best ships that they had, that the others they just scrapped. Took the best ships they had to put them in mothballs, and then they started paying off crews. This ship went in, I can't remember, somewhere up near Seattle, whatever yard they were using at that time. And I'm getting most of this information from Seattle newspapers that we had, had somebody way back then that cut out articles on this. But anyway, went into the yards, and what you do in there to decommission a ship, which I've done one time before, is take the crew and you put them ashore in buildings specifically reserved for them, and they do all their ship's business ashore while they're actually prepping the actual ship. One of the last things they do in preparation, now keep in mind that sailors are getting transferred, getting paid off and everything, but there's some chief out there, some chief foreman, that's still got to run, take care of sick people and do all that other stuff. But anyway, he's got to send somebody over here because one of the last things you do is field aid the place and inventory the chairs. The chairs are the only equipment that don't leave the ship. Everything else does. But anyway, the chief has moved everything except the chairs over there, but now he sends Wilson over here. Now, I respect my sailors, but Wilson knows I don't like him. For no other reason than I think he's probably a dirtbag, because the chief is busy taking care of stuff over there. He's got his best people with him, so who does he send? The guy that he could use less to come over and do this menial task. Are you with me on this? You should probably see it all the time. Yeah. But anyway, Wilson, I think, came on over here, but Wilson wound up dying here. Because one of the other processes is, well, yeah, I also think he's a dirtbag because Chief never raised him when Wilson didn't come back. So Wilson was probably used to never coming back. And so that was never reported, and I think that was just because Wilson was a dirtbag. But anyway, the other process is that the foreman, along with the crew, will come through and he's required to go through every space to make sure it's empty. And then once he finds it empty, he has a welder that will tack weld all the metal doors to prevent entry while it's sealed up. So technically, down the line, if you want to unseal the ship, all you got to do is knock off that tack weld, and the space should be exactly as you left it, in theory. But between 47 and 52, she sat in the Ghost Fleet, and then in 52 they opened up because they wanted to take her out and spend three years modernizing them to put on an angle deck. She's used to old prop jobs. Now they got jets. They got to put in an angle deck. They got to do this, better catapults, a lot of things. Anyway, they come on up and pop one of the tack welds, and they find broken furniture on the inside. And it's like, what the hell happened here? But anyway, just me piecing things together, and I'm probably wrong on some of this. I can see Wilson coming over here, taking a look, and said, I ain't gonna clean this crap up, I'm gonna take a nap. Well, during his nap, the foreman also screwed up, because instead of coming through and inspecting spaces, he was at retirement at the time they talked to him about this. Of course, the Navy wanted to know how this happened. They talked to foreman, and he said he was behind time, so he just went to each door and yelled in there 3 times, is anybody in there? Well, Wilson was probably back here sleeping. So they closed the door and tack welded. Now, sometime later, Wilson probably woke up to pitch blackness because after they tack welded, they secure ventilation, they secure lights, they secure everything coming into here. So he probably okay for a while, but then he gets panicky when he finds out everything is locked on him. And he tried to break out, so he took the furniture and tried breaking against those metal doors, which didn't work. But anyway, it's Navy taught us back then that you could survive 30 days without food, but only 3 days without water. And how long Wilson lived after this, I don't know, because he did have a little bit of water out of the taps. He had a little bit of water here, a little water there. He probably even drank out of the toilets. He got so desperate. But the fact is 1952, when they reopened the ship, they found Wilson's mummified remains somewhere in here. Now, newspaper article wasn't specific where. It also wasn't very specific on where they found the broken furniture. But a door, a place, they found Wilson's mummified remains. Years down the line, first time I heard about it was in 06, 07. And the only way I heard about Wilson then was because we had non-skid up there. We changed a lot of things because of this one incident. We had non-skid up there, so the deck wasn't as slick as what it is now. Some kid during the summer took off running and tripped, as I always do, and skinned up his hands and his knees. He's wearing shorts. So he sets up a squall, and Daddy grabs him up, starts looking around, and he sees a sign at the exit that says sick bay exit. Well, that sign has since changed. He took the word sick bay off of that because Dad came down here because it said sick bay. Anyway, he saw this guy in a white smock with a red cross and said, "My son, he." But Wilson, I'm going to call him that, I can't guarantee that's his name, said, "Sir, I can't help you. You have to go see your doctor." Like Charlie, you couldn't touch anything, you couldn't do anything. I couldn't actually perform any physical labor. Anyway, Daddy got real upset with him, but all the guy said was, "Sir, I can't help you, I can't help you." So Dad grabbed his kid, went back up that ladder, and about the time that a volunteer that had ate lunch back there came on and saw him, saw the distress, got the story, so he took him up to the quarterdeck where we had an EMT up there. We tried to keep a medical personnel watch during the daytime. Anyway, they took care of him. Meanwhile, Daddy couldn't get over how pissed he was at the corpsman down here. Would not accept the fact that we don't have a corpsman down here. But anyway, he filed a complaint anyway. Now, years down the line, right, I'm working on these mines up here, and I talked about those petty officers. One of them was a female second class. All of us got to be good friends. But a couple years later, I'm walking through hangar bay number 2, and she hollers, I hear my name, and it's her. So I go over to talk to her, and she's got a boyfriend there, I mean the whole thing, and we're talking, and during that time, she asked, "When did you guys start reenacting?" I said, "Well, we don't." I said, "Well, she and her boyfriend came down here and looked in the operating room, the surgery, but she called it the operating room, and there was a corpsman in there with a white smock and red cross, and it looked like he was prepping for surgery, which all of a sudden sent alarm buttons through me because nobody's supposed to be in there, and we got some one-of-a-kind tools in there." So anyway, I came screaming on down here. I didn't have a key to that door. I went on in. About the time she got there, then her boyfriend got there and said, "This is it, this is it." I went on through there, and there was no Wilson there, and there's a side room that's also got the sterilization machine in there, but nobody was in there. And I came on out, "You sure?" "Yes, this was it." And I believe her because she knew this place. But anyway, I locked it on up, and but they swear that happened. Well, before leaving, I took my flashlight, shined the flashlight down on the tools, and all the dust that should have been there was. So I knew nobody tampered with them.
Which room was it?
It was over here.
You get a shot of that real quick. This one?
Yes. But she said operating room, and it threw me off because it's labeled surgery. But everybody calls it the operating room. And over there you see the side door.
So did she see the mannequin in there too, and then a corpsman standing in front of him?
Yeah, she saw all that, but the guy was moving.
Yeah.
It looked like he was prepping for surgery. I brought my wife out here because they were having a moving Vietnam War display up on the hangar bay 2. So I brought my wife, she wanted to see it. But anyway, after that, I was told by some guys, some of my shipmates, that they have new displays down here. So I said, well, let's swing by 2 or 4 and take a look at them. One of them was this. And I was standing here reading that, but my wife had moved on because she's not interested in a lot of this stuff. Anyway, I'm reading it, and now, while I was here, that recording would have been going, but then stop, and then restart if somebody should step in it, break that start. But there's nothing. That may be a junction box for something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to see where she is. So I know this is a confined area. I've been through here many times. So I look back, see if anybody's there, and sure enough, there was a guy standing here about that tall. He had dark features, but brown eye and brown hair. He also had, I could see him from the shoulders up. I didn't do a full scan on the guy because he's close to me, but he's also wearing a light blue shirt. Matter of fact, kind of like the dungaree shirt from way back when. But didn't impact on me all the time. I just want to know where my wife is. So I look back, see if anybody's there, look up, and sure enough, she's there. I need to step back, and I know he's close to me, so I look back to say, excuse me, and there's nobody there.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, I've seen a lot of strange things on here, but I walked up to my wife, and she said, she took one look at my face and said, you saw something, didn't you?
Did you see his
Yeah,
eyes?
I just, huh?
Did you see his eyes?
He had brown eyes, yeah.
Was he looking
was
right at you?
He was looking right at me.
Huh.
He wasn't smiling, but it was kind of a light grin.
Okay.
Now, come to part 2 of that story. I'm with this group called Spectre out of Austin. Anyway, they each have like a cyber shot or something like that. They go around taking random shots. Virginia, talked to her, she called me on the phone saying, were you wearing a blue shirt? And I said, no, why? She took a picture, it bounced off of here, the plexiglass, and showed that door, and there's a guy in the door wearing a light blue shirt. They can't make out any features because it's all, but anyway, it's I was the only one not wearing a black Spectre shirt, but it was bright yellow. There's a difference.
All right, we're here in this corridor, and what did you see?
Pastor Webb, and I'm looking down there at that place we just came through where that chain is, and there's a door there, then they come across and it goes to the post office.
Yeah.
But while I'm looking, there was a black figure that went from our right to our left, but it was very fast. It wasn't somebody casually strolling, it was very fast.
It's interesting because as we were walking this way through the passageway, you saw something down here you thought as well.
Oh, but it was farther down.
Yeah.
Now that one I wasn't so sure because it was fleeting. That was
definite.
A little more. I was looking directly at it. Here I just happened to glance and I thought I saw something, but it was so fast. I'm not positive. Here I was looking and it happened, so I'm positive on that.
Alright, it was midnight 17, June 20th, in sick bay, asking if anyone's here. You should probably answer me since it's a Navy commander making a request. The commanding officer is requesting that you make your presence known. Make a sound. Tell us who you are. Tell me who you are. Why are you here?
It's 1 a.m. We were just down in the battle dressing room. Bill heard voices coming from the forecastle. Thought maybe this was playing, but it's not. And you definitely heard some voices?
I heard voices. The movement, I agree, was probably water hit inside the ship.
Yeah, we
But
heard.
It might be matrixing too, to hear voices.
Okay.
Very kind of makes sense to that. So I can understand what was being said, so I'm not going to hear it.
That's where, unfortunately, a sailor was found hanging after taking their own life at some point.
Not me. It was up there.
was that?
I have no idea. I don't know if that was here or next to that.
That was loud. We just heard a loud bang.
Don't have anything open for the wind to move anything.
Was that you? Can you do that again? Can you make a sound? All right, it's about 1 a.m. We're in the junior officers' quarters, and I was just doing an EVP session asking if anybody was in here with us. And Bill, what just happened?
Well, I'm standing here between bunks 13 and 18, and I was looking at you, and something said Bill right in my ear.
Male or female?
Male.
Whisper?
No, it sounded
It's like Bill.
Yeah, it was right in my ear, so it was hard
Wow.
to tell.
And I'm still recording on the EVP. Huh. And I stand here next to you, I get goosebumps on my legs. It's like significant.
It didn't sound.
Check
like,
the
It
EMF.
didn't sound like Bill. It sounded like Bill.
Bill. So, whoever's back here, do you know Bill personally? Do you know my name? All right, I'm standing near the bunks. Number 28, 27. When you guys bunked back here, when you slept back here, were you all good friends with each other?
Loud noise out there in the forecastle.
What was it?
Really loud, like banging noise on metal. Kind of like what we heard earlier.
I'm going to set that thing off. I'm going to go up there.
All right, Bill's investigating a noise just heard in the forecastle. Okay, we have concluded our investigation on the Lexington. You see it back there, really cool. The blue ghost. They have it lit up in blue. Pretty windy out here. Hopefully you can hear me. But just a quick summary of the events. How did you feel about the investigation?
I think it was a success. It was very interesting. Heard some things, saw some things, learned a lot, and very much a lifetime opportunity there.
What, did you have anything concrete? Did you have anything that you felt was, without a doubt, something paranormal?
Let's see, I would say that the shadow people and maybe a couple of the footstep sounds, definitely something that was paranormal.
That's still us. That's still us.
How are you setting that up?
If anybody was on this ship during the Second World War, please make a sound on the wall. Tap sound. Can you do that again? Were you sick or injured when you were laying here? What's that? Heard something to my left. I don't know what that was. Could have been just the ship. Do you hear that, Matt? Sounds like running water or something to our left. All right, it's 12:16 a.m. We're in the engine room. And Matt is in the sick bay doing solitary for a while, solitary experiment. Now people say there's somebody named Charlie here, is that true? Well, I just heard that drill noise again, Bill.
I can't hear it over here, and I have no idea what that would be.
Twice from upstairs. You guys able to make one sound with your equipment? What is your name?
They may be recording on the folks. I don't know.
What are you hearing?
I just hear voices. I don't know what they're saying. Sounds like something moving.
If there's anybody in this room with us, any spirits in this room with us, can you make a noise that we can hear, or a tap on the wall, something? Are you glad that this ship is a living museum? Let's see if you read anything. Are you touching my legs?
There's nothing. Zeros.
Huh. Odd.